Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition perspective. And I've played this on Xbox Series X, and the thing is, I had never played Grand Theft Auto 3 before, and I had played Vice City on PC and San Andreas on PlayStation 2 when it came out around fucking almost 20 years ago at this point. So, I had these for a little bit, and I had some downtime, and wanted to see how fast I could get through with these games. And I got through at a pretty good clip. However, this is a kind of thing that you would want to happen, like a compilation of these, and being able to play them on kind of better hardware, maybe get some better textures or whatnot, but I consider these inferior versions. They don't have all the songs from the original releases. They do not play as well. Now, granted, it's been decades since I've played like San Andreas and Vice City, so I don't know if the flying controls were just worse because of porting or what, because I've also found that kind of issue of depending upon certain kind of ports, what kind of goes on with certain kind of games for controls. Specifically, like on PC, we've got Tomb Raider 3, and I'm not talking about the recent one, I'm talking about like old school one. And then we got it on Steam, and its controls are a little bit more finicky and fuckery than what they were when we were playing back then. It's like, yeah, we had issues back then, trying to make sure that, Laura, don't fucking kill yourself kind of shit. But this is the one, what? And I had a fucking hellacious time with certain kind of stuff, with helicopters in Vice City, and flying in San Andreas was just like, what? So this is going to be a weird kind of perspective. It is going to be on these games and also on this version. So, when I'm going to be talking about certain kind of things, I'll be talking about the version that we've got, but also certain game design things that are going on, because this still works, and they made it a little bit better with the updates, and if this is the only way that you can get and play these games, sure, but you're getting an inferior version of it. This is why game preservation is so fucking important, mainly because assholes will take this shit, take out the original ones, and be like, buy this, because it's the only way for you to play it, and then everybody's like, no, fuck you, asshole, and then they restored the originals. Now, I understand it is hard to do these kinds of things, especially with older games. That is why we need to actually start implementing systems so that way we don't lose these things. These are important games. Now, granted, I have liked successive Rockstar Grand Theft Auto games because of certain kind of quality of life things that have popped up. Now, granted, we do kind of get them in here with like weapon wheels and all that kind of shit. But going through these, I've also seen the evolution of Rockstar's take on this. Now, weirdness for the additions getting through, not having the full soundtracks, because I had played Vice City and San Andreas, and part of the whole appeal of a Grand Theft Auto game is cruising around in the cars and listening to the soundtracks. You don't have the full soundtracks of like V-Rock and everything, and it was really kind of weird listening to Laszlo and being like, holy shit, he really is a fucking edgelord. Like, I didn't even understand what an edgelord would have been at that point, but now that I've gotten all this kind of stuff, I'm like, holy shit, he sounds like a fucking edgelord tool, and all that kind of stuff. But I would still cruise to like the rock music that they had there, and they don't have the full ones. Granted, they have most of it, but if you have played these games before and you're trying to be like, hey, I just want the game again, you're going to have a bad time. Never mind the fact that you're losing songs also in San Andreas, and I think also in 3, but texture popping is a bad issue. I really had that in where like the game would go, and I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at? And it's just a gray blob and shit, mainly in San Andreas and certain kind of woozy missions of what was kind of going on. And then also, I would hit light poles or whatnot, and they would for some reason magnetically stick more to the vehicle and then fly through, and fall through the map. Like, go through a road and disappear. I never really had that shit happening in Vice City or San Andreas when I was playing them in their original kind of states. Granted, there's time and I could be forgetting certain issues, but frequently, if I would take out a light pole, it would stick to the car for a little bit, I would brake, and then it would fall through the map. I wouldn't remember it like falling through the map. It might disappear, but it wouldn't fall through the fucking map. And I'm like, what happens if I kind of fall through the map or whatnot? It just was nutty. The aim assist is not well implemented either. And I did like the quality of life of being able to turn off having to mash the A button for sprint. Yeah, like, this was just really weird and just, it didn't feel right playing these. Now granted, that's mainly because of the version. Even though we've got better hardware, this is not as well, this needed better care to be done and be done properly. Grand Theft Auto deserves that. So, now that I've kind of got that out of the way with the perspective, let's dig into the games themselves. So, I never played GTA 3 when it was out originally. Now, I'm going to try that. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm going to pretty much try and separate the stuff from the versions that I've got. Like, I mainly have the ability to do that with Vice City and San Andreas since I'd already played them, and the inconsistencies that I have with kind of game design and core shit that's baked into it kind of still exists there with certain kind of instances. 3, I'm not going to be able to do that as much since I didn't play it originally. But I see why 3 was such a pivotal kind of one, even though I think of it as the weakest here. Mainly because you play as, as Clyde, who is a silent protagonist. This really hinders the narrative, for me at least, because you just go around and do shit for people, and you don't really get your character's kind of involvement. You deal with Catalina betraying you, and then kind of just fucking around throughout different kind of islands and doing just kind of various crimes. It's loosely, I mean, it's connected enough, but it's still more like, hey, you could go around and do kind of weird, crazy kind of shit. However, the biggest kind of issue I had with it was how the storyline kind of progressed. Mainly in, if you didn't do certain things before you ended off certain kind of island story modes, story missions, you would get fucked if you attempted to do anything else, because you have the Mafia with the vehicle-destroying shotguns that will hammer your ass after you finish the first island, and then you've got another gang that'll, like, come at your ass on the second, and same with the third, and it's just like, holy shit. Now, granted, the finale of, like, fighting Catalina and everything kind of going on, that was well done. I'm like, oh, cool, we finally kind of get our revenge and everything, and you kind of get that kind of momentum, but it's not really as well done. It crystallized it probably for 3D GTA and kind of understanding what they kind of wanted to do and building out Liberty City and how they would kind of successively go about it. But it is weakest narrative-wise for me, and gameplay gets kind of weird. Mainly because car damage, God, I got blown up a lot more than I would have liked. But in the successive ones, I was able to get out of the cars usually fast enough to avoid getting completely and utterly blown up. This, if you farted or sneezed at it the wrong way, depending upon what was going on, your car would like go like that. The Shotgun Mafia was like, fuckity dude, fuckity day, I'm gonna screw your ass to the wall and say that's the way. Kind of shit. It's like, I know these things are here, could you please just not take me to this island for these kind of story missions? Because sometimes you'd have a little bit of crossover, it's like, then you'd do something, you're like, get me out of this place, get me out of this place, get me out of this place, especially from the Mafia area. And I still kind of had fun with it, but it's almost like that whole example of you get people and how Seinfeld had a lot of an effect on comedy and whatnot. And then people are like, oh, I've already seen this before with this kind of thing. It's like, yeah, but Seinfeld is the thing that kind of did it. Whenever I try and do these kind of reviews and perspectives and everything, I understand that GTA 3 catalyzed and started this kind of thing. And I have to look at it as like, yes, this doesn't work, but I've seen what that people have improved upon it, specifically even Rockstar themselves. So I'm not trying to judge this harshly, but I can see it's like, yes, this started this basis, and I can see why they kind of shifted things to where they were going in different kind of ways. Specifically, going in and doing voice protagonists and kind of giving them more kind of agency in the story to actually build about a better story, better supporting cast, better things going on, and actually kind of invest you more in the world of what's kind of going on. Because GTA 3 is definitely a prime example of nailing down vehicles, kind of understanding what they want to do, weaponry, letting you go about and do kind of things and actually kind of interact with the world, and then starting to refine that and build that up throughout various different kind of ways throughout Grand Theft Auto's lifespan and series. Again, I will do other ones of Grand Theft Auto as well, because this is an important series to me. I grew up with this. Vice City was one that was a nutty one. My whole family played it. We were all trying to help each other out and everything, trying to figure out what's going on with things. One of the best kind of memories is my mom trying to figure out how to get in and out of vehicles, and it's like, yeah, it's the same kind of button, but actually trying to do it and everything, she would just go around on a moped and then just smash into things so that way she could get off, because she wasn't that well versed with stuff going on with it, and used to those kind of control schemes. And it's really kind of great, because then I get her into, well, not I, but we as a family get her into Tomb Raider and stuff like that, and then she plays one of the newer ones and she's able to kill a bear by herself, and I'm like, yay! It's a proud kind of gamer moment where I'm like, yes, Mom, you did that yourself. But this was one of the ones. There are other kind of ones, but this was a pivotal one because we kind of played it all ourselves. And Grand Theft Auto Vice City definitely does a better kind of job of linking that up and doing the whole story and kind of connecting it and doing the whole kind of time period. I think of Vice City as a big kind of cornerstone, mainly because of since it was so important to me and my family, but also looking at Grand Theft Auto series and kind of evolution. Granted, I've played certain other kind of ones. I've played a little bit of the GBA Game Boy Advance one, but I've also played the Chinatown Wars one. That one was pretty cool. But Vice City kind of started it for us, and playing the third one, I'm like, I don't think it's bad, but definitely the narrative isn't there. It's mainly built around the gameplay, and getting that kind of locked down, understanding weaponry, going about what things are kind of fun and what's not. I think they might have even fucked around with certain kind of time missions to maybe give you a better kind of time within these versions. If not, let me know if they're either more generous or telling you to go get fucked because they made it even worse. Let me know about that. I don't know. Since I didn't play the original, I can't completely speak with 3 on that, but I think they really, the important bit for 3 is they started to get the gameplay down, and then they start successively iterating on the gameplay and getting the narrative into better kind of stuff, because Vice City, you're set in 1986, you're Tommy Vercetti, you get pretty much out of prison, and they send you down to Miami to pretty much get their kind of drug trade started up, and all the complete insanity that kind of ensues. They nail the music, they nail the feel of the 80s and everything, and be like, oh, okay. Now granted, I mainly understand that because I didn't live in the 80s, but from what I learned from my parents and other people and seeing other kind of shows and everything, they really nailed time periods with it, which becomes a pivotal part of Rockstar's kind of philosophy going forward. Granted, that's really not that much of an objective in GTA 3, if that makes sense, but as it keeps going on, you're like, oh, okay, we're kind of seeing this. We see Tommy teaming up with Rosenberg, with Lance, taking on Diaz, going through and trying to get everything done because he lost the money and he lost the cocaine, and he's trying to get everything kind of set up, but then he starts taking over Vice City himself. My biggest issue is that we have a hard stop on the main story for a while before we have to go off and essentially do side quests to get everything kind of done to actually finish the game. I did not notice it as much in my original playthrough back in the 2000s, but playing it here where I'm like, yeah, okay, these can be long kind of games, but I would kind of blitz through them kind of fast because I kind of knew what I was doing. But when I was going through this, I'm like, wow, this is really kind of a hard stuff. You kill Diaz, and then you have to go up, do these kind of weird things of assets and businesses and everything. But I understand that this is Rockstar playing with these, and that they become better as they iterate on. Now, granted, not always in the same kind of vein, because we also have that same kind of issue in San Andreas. But we'll get to that in a minute. So, I am fine with it because it does introduce some different kind of stuff like Love Fist and all that. Ken Rosenberg, you get some kind of heist stuff, but it's all just kind of weird things of like, you're building to this crescendo, you take down Diaz, and then you kind of fuck around for a little bit before you get to the end where you deal with Lance's betrayal. Your boys up north coming down and Vercetti taking them out, and then reining in Vice City. And that's really kind of been a pivotal one to me because I want to see what we kind of get on in Grand Theft Auto 6 since they've done the reveal trailer for that and everything, and that we're going back to Vice City, and I want to see are there going to be callbacks to Vercetti, Ken Rosenberg. I mean, we get Ken Rosenberg in San Andreas and everything. It's like, ooh, let's see what kind of goes on, what kind of weird shit goes on. I want to see the iteration and the differences and different kind of time periods. Because it doesn't have to be like going back to the 80s. I do like that the numbered ones kind of go more kind of forward and kind of set in certain kind of time periods as well, even if they're not as far back in the past as going back into the 80s. Certain kind of weapons work out pretty well. The weapon wheel works out kind of better within these kind of instances to flip back and forth between your weapons. But you go around and do some weird shit towards the end where you're like, okay, you gotta steal all these cars. It's like, fine, I'll interact with this. It's forcing you to interact with the system where I would want to more interact with it at my own leisure if it adds value to it. And it's stymieing story progress and gatekeeping it to that kind of effect irks me. I don't like that as a game design philosophy. Now granted, if you enjoy that, that's fine. It stops my momentum and my progress, and I'm like, now granted, the thing is, you're going to look at me and you're like, you do weird RPGs and you do side quests a lot, and it kind of kills your forward momentum for it. It's like, yeah, but that's a different kind of thing because that gives me the value add of other kind of stuff of me exploring the world, understanding the world, instead of I have to go and if the side quest is mandatory, that's where I start to have the problem because I'm like, okay, you're killing my momentum. Whereas I'm choosing to go after into this kind of space because I either need resources, experience, or just want to learn more and stuff about the story. Whereas I don't have to go and do that. I could still go and have my issues with the main story if I'm not as leveled or whatnot, or just want to gotta go and actually do it. It's the choice aspect that kind of brings it up to me. And is the kind of issue. If I've got the choice, I'll go and fuck around and try and get some cool kind of stuff before I'm like, get myself back into the main story. That's usually more in the RPG kind of notion. Here, I have to go and deal with the voodoo lady, freaking Danny Trejo, fighting the voodoo lady, cars and shit, like Love Fist doing their kind of stuff. Now granted, the Love Fist is interesting and funny, but the thing is, I kind of rather would have that more organically worked into the story itself, rather than be like, boom, 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 I gotta deal with all this kind of weird stuff, and then I finally get the finale, because the thing is, it's not like Dragon Quest where you like Dragon Quest 11 essentially has you can get an ending and then you get the true ending. This I could understand if somebody's like, this is the true this is an ending that you could stop at, but it's more like it really isn't. It's not like you're continuing on to kind of finish out that you're stymied, and if you want the ending you have to go through these other kind of things, because you could say, oh, they just stopped there. It's like, that's not the end. Same with Dragon Quest. It's like, that's not the end. This is the true end. Ugh. But it's still one of my favorites because of Tommy Vercetti, him just like going fuckity-doo-dah and building his empire in Vice City, and what he kind of deals with, and deals with all these crazy, colorful characters. And then we get San Andreas. And CJ's a good character. I like learning about him, but the thing is, after playing it now, after so many years, there's a lot of stuff that I really wish they kind of went into more with his character, specifically with Grove Street and everything. It's really kind of weird that Grove Street and the gangs and Sweet and everything are such a pivotal kind of part and parcel to CJ's story, but they kind of went a little bit buck wild and be like, no. We don't just have a city. We've got like a whole state. We got Los Santos. We got San Fierro. We got Las Venturas. We've got this desert kind of spot. We've got the Badlands and shit. It's just, they went too big, and then I'm glad they kind of refocused to be like, because a lot of it's like, I'm just going through a lot of empty fucking space. I mean, granted, I'm cruising and everything, but we see that CJ's back. We're in 1992 now. He's coming back from Liberty City. His mother has died. He's going to bury her, and then dealing with all of his family drama with Sweet, his old gang, Grove Street with Ryder and Big Smoke. His sister having a boyfriend in kind of like a rival gang of Caesar, who's Caesar is, he's good, man. And then everything that kind of goes weird. We get Samuel L. Jackson doing the voice of Officer Tenpenny, who is, I do like, in which they kind of delved into how he was corrupt and how essentially Tenpenny, Pulaski, and Hernandez were essentially just another kind of gang that you kind of had to deal with. Yes, they were the police, but they were doing gang shit and everything, and just blackmailing CJ into doing all this kind of shit. And then everything kind of goes nuts. And then you have to leave and you travel across all the state, but it's just like so big. It's like, oh god, traveling everywhere and kind of all over the place. You do get introduced to other kind of characters and everything, but then you get back to Los Santos at the end, and I know they're trying to lay this stuff as like Sweet's like, you did nothing for the Grove, man. Now you're all out here doing and working with Mad Dog, which was kind of strange because you helped this other dude steal Mad Dog stuff, and now you're trying to help him get back. It's like, oh god, wait until he kind of learns that you're the one that kind of stole his rhyme book in the first place. But one of my biggest kind of issues is you get towards the end and the finale, and if you don't read ahead and don't understand kind of what goes on in the finale, because Officer Tenpenny gets acquitted of all these charges leading to riots and everything going on in Los Santos. But in order to do the final kind of mission, you need 35% control of the gang territories. Now, before you have left Los Santos, because you find out that Big Smoke and Ryder had betrayed you, you eventually do get your revenge on both of them, as well as Tenpenny. You are introduced to this gang warfare system where you essentially go into different kind of hoods, initiate a wave-based attack thing, and then take the hoods. However, you need 35% control in order to do the final mission. Again, another kind of stymieing process. But if you don't know about this or don't learn about this, and you can either, you could take over all the territories in the first time when it's available to you. However, I think that then gets reset because you have to leave Los Santos, and then you come back. If you don't do any of that stuff before the riots, it gets vastly harder to even do it. So you could essentially fuck yourself over if you did a complete incorrect save where, oh god, because when the riots are going on, you don't really get access to very good vehicles. Everything's kind of blowing up. Everybody's fighting each other, and trying to do that is shit. So the thing is, that happened to me the first time I played it, and then I had to go back to another kind of save, and then it happened to me again when I replayed this motherfucker, and I had to go through and do all this kind of shit, and then blitz through these missions, and again, the fucking checkpointing in the last mission when you're fucking trying to follow Tenpenny and get through everything is still bad. It's like, god damn it. So that's actual game design. Now granted, it could have been worse because of this edition, but I remember it being kind of fucking stupid to begin with as well, and I almost kind of like got killed during certain kind of stuff, but I was able to like make it through it and finish it off. I'm like, god damn. But it was a nice one because I again was in there in the 90s learning about different kind of stuff. Even though it came out in like 2004, I really identified with CJ's character of understanding what's kind of going on, dealing with crazy stuff. We get Catalina and Clyde making their kind of appearances. We get Rosenberg. I mean, Catalina screwed over. CJ was like, oh my god. And of course, the whole infamous hot coffee mod of like, oh sweet Jesus. Yeah, like you can introducing other kind of systems of like you can be muscular, you could be fat, you could have and date girlfriends. It's like, okay, I do like Rockstar tinkering and trying to utilize these systems, but you start seeing the refinements. You start seeing that in GTA 4, the DLC, GTA 5, and all that stuff going on. But you get better kind of stories from the progression of 3. I think that's why Vice City and San Andreas kind of stick with me so much. And then, of course, we've got Nico Bellic from 4. God, I'm blanking on... The Ballad of Gay Tony and The Lost and the Damned from those DLCs, and then of course Michael, Franklin, and Trevor in GTA 5. Though granted, I will hit on GTA 5 when I do that one, because 3 protagonists dilutes the kind of system in my opinion. I'll dig more into that later, but I like the focusedness of when you got one kind of protagonist and you can really delve into them and get how they tick, what kind of goes on. Like Tommy Vercetti, he's been doing all this kind of stuff, and then he gets fucked over by the family up north because they just wanted to use him to get into the drug trade. CJ is fucked over constantly by Tenpenny, but then he starts building up these allies, and he needed to be a little bit more forceful with Sweet, because Sweet gets pretty much put into jail for a majority of the game. It's like, you didn't do shit for the Grove. It's like, Tenpenny and Big Smoke and the Ballers and all these other people were pretty much got him kicked out of Los Santos because of everything kind of going on. The Grove was pretty much screwed, so he had to like go out and build up other people and learn with allies, build up with Caesar and his sister Kendall, building up operations and everything, working with the Triads, with Woozy, and Woozy being kind of interesting, them planning their heist and screwing over Salvatore, who was the mafia dude that you knock off in GTA 3. Seeing CJ having fucking relations with Catalina, and then Catalina going off with Clyde. It's like, oh my god. It's kind of nuts seeing him kind of integrated in this kind of stuff, him dealing with all this bullshit and everything, and then finally coming out at the end and being like, alright, we got everything back. Let's actually do some shit now. So it was nice to go through with these and go through the stories, learn the worlds again, and see what kind of goes on. But I still do not recommend this unless you can get it like cheap and it's the only way that you can play these games. Otherwise, go for emulation, go for any kind of thing, or even play them on the originals. If you can do that with PC, PS2, anything like that, we really need a better game preservation system, because I don't like saying that, oh, you should go and find these ancient-ass things. Yes, even though I played them, I understand that people nowadays would consider them ancient-ass, and what you would have to do to try and make them work is just fucking stupid. You should be able to... you bought it. You should be able to utilize them in better kind of manners and be able to take them with you and make sure that they're preserved so that it would be like if a book fucking lit itself on fucking fire after 5 years just for no fucking reason. Like, it's nuts. And then we just get companies just deleting the originals to get you to buy something that could potentially be even worse. Because of rights, or because of graphics, or texture pop-ins, or weird fucking controls that get you frustrated because it's like, oh my god, I'm just trying to fly this plane and this makes no goddamn sense anymore. Oh, the plane controls in San Andreas really kind of were like, no, no, please God, no. God. But, see, that's the thing. The jacket is more for this version of what the fuck did you do, Rockstar? And then it's good for the stuff that GTA as a series has done. Mainly more for me with Vice City and San Andreas, even with the flaws that they do, because I have fun with them. And trying to figure out what's kind of going on and seeing the evolution from I played these when they came out and now I played them again to kind of see what goes on, what issues I have with them, and why I have those issues. And if they're a problem for me or not. Or if they're just like there, it's like, alright, I have a problem with it, but it doesn't completely affect my enjoyment. I'm more like, these game designs make no sense to me, but I still enjoy Vice City. I still enjoy San Andreas because of memories, and then also just the fun of being able to kind of go through and deal with these things, and how the cars handle, and what kind of goes on, and what kind of activities you could do. Now, granted, I didn't do the rampages or anything like that. I did more of the stuff back then with those kind of games, but here I was like, I'm not really interested in those. Those don't add value to me gameplay-wise. I would do certain kind of things to either get a lot of get more health, like in Vice City, doing the pizza delivery or doing the ambulance missions in San Andreas, because that gives you a tangible reward. Yes, it might not be the best kind of thing, and it's kind of like, ah, shit, I gotta deal with this fucking stupid system of just going around and delivering things in a timed manner. It's just like, can we do something else to essentially get our health up? I mean, at least you're linking us with an ambulance in the second, in San Andreas, whereas in Vice City you're just delivering pizzas. It's like, oh, okay. Again, not too much of an issue, just more of understanding the game design philosophy of that time and how it's evolved in the succeeding generations, because Rockstar has gotten better with that, and other games have learned from them as well, of like, yes, if you really link that kind of stuff together and be like, okay, this will increase your health and still have it be fun, that's the cool shit. But Grand Theft Auto is really important for what it was able to do with open world design, because you could do a lot of weird kind of crazy shit. Not completely open, you still had certain kind of mission constraints, but that narratives, subject matters to deal with, like drugs in the 80s and everything going on in Los Santos with everything, like in the 90s, police corruption, gangs, all that kind of stuff, and just like tackling those kind of issues, and then also linking them with the narratives. It's cool and it's important, and it shifted the industry, because it's like, okay, let's talk about these kind of things, let's interweave these narratives and do all these kind of things and make sure that our characters and what we're trying to talk about have more of a kind of harmony. And granted, they're not the first series to do it, but they're an important series that did it. If that makes sense with that distinction. And you could hate these games, and I could totally understand that, depending upon what kind of goes on. Controls make you feel like you're flying off the fucking handle, visuals that are like, I can't see what's going on. I totally get that, but I do want to emphasize the importance of this series, and especially these three, and what they were able to do for Grand Theft Auto and video games as a whole. Understanding what you can do with your game design and your open world and what kind of goes on. Because for every series like this, we've also then got Ubisoft just being like, we've got this open world design, and then people are like, oh god, we got copy and pasting. Now granted, like Assassin's Creed, and there's certain ones that they really hit a good hit on, but they just have gone to like bloat levels. That's what you want to fight. You want fun shit to do, and to be like, oh yeah, that's where I kind of think also San Andreas had its kind of fault, like the map was too fucking big, and you like, I gotta either fly a plane, which I don't really want to do, or I gotta drive through and do all this kind of stuff. But granted, the driving is at least the least kind of weird kind of one, because then you can cruise to the music. So it kind of helps out with that. It doesn't really help out with the dead space and the wasting of time of like, I really just want to go and do the next fucking thing. Oh. But yeah, it was nice to kind of go through these and come back to them, if that makes sense. I do think that at certain points, especially with like favorite games or games that you have really had a big impact on you, you should try and like do a replay at some point, depending upon what goes on. I do that usually with like any new Halo release or whatnot, or if I just feel that I want to experience like the Bungie Halos or whatnot, even some kind of 343 ones, even though not to the same extent. But that's like an important series to me. Gears of War, of course, Grand Theft Auto, Saints Row ones, Resident Evil ones. It's certain ones that way. you're like, okay, I played this so long ago. What do I feel about it now? What do I think about it now? Now, that's not to say that I want you to do it to then take away the magic of what you had from it. But sometimes in different points in your life, you can like, you either appreciate something more or you see something you're like, I now can point why I had an issue with certain kind of things. Like with Vice City just being like, we kind of just had a weird kind of stop here right before the end of the story. And same in San Andreas. Not really having those same kind of issues in other ones going forward. It's like, looks like they learned on that kind of thing. And like, I wasn't expecting going into that kind of stuff because I didn't remember it because of those back in the day, because I had a different kind of time constraints and different kind of things that I was looking into and getting from my games. So, yeah, it's just interesting to kind of learn those kind of things and see what kind of goes on with them. But, yeah, those are my perspectives and opinions on the games, specifically mainly onto this version. The original versions definitely have their own kind of thing, so don't take this completely as that kind of thing. But those are my opinions on the games. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you like them, if you don't like them, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.